All right, awesome. We're live. So, welcome, Clinton. Great to have you on. For
Thank,
everyone who's just tuning in, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, kind of let people know who you are, what you do.
my name is Clinton James. I am the Chief Marketing Officer and one of the partners with Water Restoration Marketing. We are a digital marketing agency that works with restoration companies across the country. So,
Awesome, cool. And yeah, we were just chatting a little bit, and you told me you kind of got started with these guys when they were at about the six-figure level. You're the CMO now. As a group total, you've helped scale to multiple seven figures. So that's amazing. I really wanted to dig in today to some of the strategies and tactics and things that you've done in the agency to help them get to that seven-figure level.
awesome. Excited to have the conversation.
Cool. So yeah, why don't we kind of pick up when you joined the agency? So maybe you can tell us a little bit about your backstory and how you got started with your business partners.
I've done digital marketing on the sales side since probably 1999. I got a job for a tech startup right out of high school selling domain name registrations, websites, SEO, and shared web hosting. I did that for a number of years. My career took a couple different paths. Ultimately, I was living in Northern California with my then girlfriend, now wife. Who took a job in San Francisco working for a tech company, and we needed some more money to handle the move. So I took a part-time job doing business development, kind of cold calling for a small digital marketing agency, probably less than 2 years in business, what ended up being my business partner's agency, Kevin and Jeff. So I did cold calling for a few weeks, and they're like, "Hey, you're pretty good at this. Do you want to actually start selling these services?" I was like, "Sure." So I did that for a few months and I got really good at that, took over the sales operation, then started dipping my toes in the marketing. And I feel like a few years into it, I was like, "Hey, I think I know enough. I think I'm ready to go out and I'm ready to start my own digital marketing agency in the same niche." And after having that conversation with my partners, they were like, "Hey, you don't need to do that. There's no reason for you to go start another digital marketing agency." So we came to an agreement. I've got two of the best partners in the world. They're really good at what they do and have put me and the rest of our team in a great position to be successful.
Wow, that's amazing. So you got into that CMO role, kind of working your way up the ranks, starting with like cold calling, doing sales. You got good, and you're like, "Hey, I could go and do this." And they're like, "Don't be a competitor, be a partner."
I tell agency owners that all the time. When you have someone that's really shining in your organization, figure out a way to keep them there. Because if not, you're literally going to create another competitor for yourself. And while competition is good, you don't want somebody taking everything that you've helped coach, develop, and get out of them, and then go turn around and execute that for another agency. So.
Totally, yeah. And great talent is hard to find, and it's even harder to find somebody who's like getting the results that you want. And then there's a lot of lost effort with like finding someone new, training them, figuring all that out. So yeah, smart move.
100%.
Cool. So diving into some of the tactics that you use to start signing on more clients and kind of take them from the six to the seven-figure level, what were some of the main things that you focused on when you got into that CMO role?
Well, for me, we had already gotten really good at cold calling. So we have a few right now members of our team, which are semi-retired sales professionals, folks that have grinded their teeth on the phones, selling and generating opportunities for salespeople in other organizations. So we have two of those folks in place. What we started getting better at is running Facebook ads specifically for the agency. We're a part of a few different mastermind groups, and got a lot of feedback from other agency owners and really gotten really good at crafting our offer and presenting that on social media and using that as a way to generate opportunities for us to pitch our services. Earlier this year, we rolled out a podcast for our niche, and that has become another source of business for us. And I really like podcast leads because if someone has listened to you talk and express your abilities as a subject matter expert in your niche, they show up pre-positioned to purchase, right? Pre-positioned to do business with you. And then you're just deciding whether or not they meet your client avatar and deciding whether you want to actually work with them at that point. So
Yeah, exactly. They're like the warmest leads possible. So it's just a
100%.
matter of, yeah, is this a fit or not kind of situation.
Yep.
Cool. So I'd love to dig into kind of like the Facebook ad tactics and strategies. So Could you maybe describe the type of funnel that you guys are running right now and what you're seeing that's working for you, this year going into next?
So we've actually kind of pivoted on that in the last 12 months. Traditionally, we would just use Facebook's simple lead form and capture that data. But now we are driving those folks to a landing page that has a VSL, has some qualifying questions. And then based on the way they answer those qualifying questions, it may give them an opportunity to book a strategy session directly on our calendar. So the creatives that we use on the Facebook ads, those change. We literally make an effort every 3 to 4 weeks to create a new round of creatives that we can experiment with. We've got a marketing assistant from a company called RepStack that does a great job of taking what's in my mind and actually creating the visuals and creatives and putting together those ads. And sometimes stuff works really, really well, and we'll continue to run those as winners. And then we'll try stuff that doesn't work well. But nothing's set in stone. We're always willing to experiment and play with it to see what's going to get us the best opportunities on our calendar.
Yeah, for sure. Endless testing is key. And like if you're able to kind of have different angles, it kind of hits people's brains in different ways. And, maybe one angle they'll opt in for, another they won't.
Mhm.
So it's cool to have some variety and yeah, avoid the ad fatigue that way as well.
The other thing is the audience. Facebook gives you these opportunities to create these lookalikes, but we've learned specifically in our niche to rely on the lists that we build. We actually use a software, I think it's called, I want to say like Lead Enforce or something like that, that goes out and it targets Facebook groups that are in our niche and allows those people to be part of that audience as well. So not wasting a lot of ad spend, generating opportunities for people that are not our target avatar. So.
Yeah, that's smart. Especially like I imagine your niche for water restoration is like very, very specific. So you really
It
need to
is.
get in front of the exact avatar that you're,
Yep.
calling in as a client. So when it comes to the VSL funnel, are you having people opt in to watch the VSL, or are you just taking them straight to the page with the video?
No, the questionnaire or the form to fill out is positioned below the video. So by nature, whether they're on a smartphone or a computer, they see the VSL first. But people don't have to watch it. They can go down. We've written some copy. We've got a form for them to fill out with some qualifying questions there. I would say probably 1 out of every 3 people that lands on that landing page actually watches the VSL in its entirety. So it's part of it, but it's not the only thing that's moving them through the sales process.
Got you. So you got a targeted list of people in your niche. You're showing ads to them. Probably keeps the ad spend pretty efficient, I imagine.
Some days it's better than others, but we're still our target acquisition or our cost per client acquisition. We've factored in Facebook ad spend, factored in our cost for the appointment setters that actually do some additional qualifications on these and put them onto the calendar there. So it's still a really profitable endeavor for us to use Facebook ads to generate new clients.
Awesome. And are you guys collecting emails on the front end, or is it only after they fill out that questionnaire?
No, we actually collect them on the front end, right? So now that now that Facebook gives us conditional formatting on their simple lead forms, we can ask one question, capture some information, ask another question, capture some information. Based on the way they answer those questions, we can then drive them to that landing page that has the VSL and the additional form for them to fill out. Be surprised how many times the information that comes through from Facebook has one email address, but when they fill out the landing page form, it's got a completely different email address. So
Mm.
we want to make sure we capture as much information as possible from those prospects.
Yeah, 100%. And that's smart too, because then you capture that front end traffic for longer term nurture. Like if people bounce off the VSL page or something like that, you can drip out your podcast, drip out YouTube content, whatever it might be.
Yeah, we do not use Go High Level. We're probably going to look at making that change sometime in 2025. But right now we use Active Campaign. So we have a set of email nurture sequence that'll go out to anybody that responds to our Facebook ads. In addition, those Facebook ads that don't actually book, they bounce off that landing page. They become a lead for our appointment setters to call on, right? That's a little warmer lead than obviously reaching out to somebody cold. And a lot of times those appointment setters can then turn that prospect, depending on whether or not they meet our qualifications, into an appointment on the calendar.
100%. Yeah, especially in your niche where, these business owners, they're so busy. Like they have so much going on. They're in the field, they're in their trucks. Like they might not necessarily watch like a 15-minute video about what you do, but they're open to do business.
We do try to keep any VSLs on any landing page, whether it's webinar registration or a Facebook ad. We try to keep them under 90 seconds.
Wow.
Try to get as much impact as we can. I don't remember the last time we did one that was longer than 2 minutes.
Wow, that's smart. So I guess that way, people get a quick introduction to you and then you probably take it to like a 15-minute call from there for like further qualification.
Yeah, the when someone responds to really any of our ads, our own website, because we do run some PPC specifically for the agency. Someone finds us via the our YouTube page or our podcast. The first step for everybody is that strategy session, right? So getting them on a call, finding out about their business, asking them the qualifying questions again to make sure that they are a good fit. Getting an understanding of what they're looking for, and then if it makes sense, then we would schedule an actual demo. Now, I'm not married to that sales cycle though, because I just did a call earlier today with someone that was supposed to be a discovery call. Call went a little long because he is our perfect target avatar, knows exactly what he was looking for. We have a program that meets what he's looking for, and he was ready to pull the trigger. So I'm not going to force a Zoom meeting to try to close business with someone that I've already identified is ready to invest and I think is a good fit to work with.
Yeah, that's brilliant having that level of flexibility for sure. So, let's say we're talking to like a six-figure agency owner who's like, okay, I'm at the six-figure level. I want to get into Facebook ads. I want to start like growing my audience with leverage and scale and, have a pool of prospects that I can, enroll into my services. What kind of advice would you give somebody who's like just starting out at that point or at that point in their agency?
One is to find a sales closer that is not only passionate about helping you to grow your business, but also really knowledgeable in your niche. So sometimes we hire people that are really smart when it comes to digital marketing, but those people aren't willing to spend the time to invest in learning about your niche. I think one of the things that we've done that has really allowed us to be successful is we've become subject matter experts in our niche. So when I have a conversation with somebody that owns a restoration company, I always leave that conversation with two goals. One is I want them to understand that I know digital marketing and I know how to use our services to help them grow their business. And the second thing is I know enough about their business to where I can speak the language, talk the terminology, understand not only the digital marketing side, but understand where else they might be getting new business from, understand what fulfillment looks like for that service, the right type of opportunities, the wrong type of opportunities, other lead generation sources that they might have used in the past that were or were not successful. So yeah, whoever you're going to have that's going to sell your services to these prospects, they not only need to understand your programs and how they deliver results, but they also need to invest the time necessary to really learn the niche so they can speak the language.
Yeah, what you've just said is so important because it's really that empathy and that understanding of somebody's pain, problems, desires in the sales and marketing that leads to like a deeper bond and a deeper connection and more affinity to you and what you do.
And nobody wants to work with for lack of a better term, a guy that knows how to sell digital marketing services. They want somebody that knows their industry, right? And that's why it's important to niche down. And that's why it's important to invest time in reading publications, newsletters, talking to people that own those types of businesses to really understand, because they can smell a fraud coming, right? If you
Totally.
don't use the right terminology to describe something that's part of their day-to-day business, they're going to smell that out, and that you instantly lose credibility with those folks.
Mm, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, okay, hiring the right salesperson, making sure they're committed to learning the niche. What other advice would you give somebody who's like, I'm getting into Facebook ads, I'm ready to scale? Um,
Uh, Try a bunch of things, right? There is no right, perfect solution for running Facebook ads. There's no one creative that's going to outperform everything else. What we found to be successful, especially recently, are Facebook ads that do not look like ads, right? We tried the personal angle, where literally some of our ads were me and my wife in
mhm.
pictures. right? We've tried the simple plain post where it just looks like a post that just has letters. People stop and they read those because they don't know who's posting them. Could be a friend or a family member. If you're going to use images in your Facebook ad creatives, make sure that they're images that resonate with your target audience, right? I'm in the restoration space. So you might see just a image with a job site on there or a piece of equipment that all of them use, right? So you just have to make sure that you are okay with experimenting, tracking those creative experiments and seeing what's going to ultimately end up delivering the best prospects onto your calendar.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've done a ton of different testing and yeah, what you've mentioned with more like organic social media friendly images that like somebody would see when they're scrolling anyways, like a picture from a friend or something, that can work really well. It also depends like because you have such a targeted list, like that your ads are getting shown to the right people.
Yeah.
And I've found that like especially if you're using like Advantage Plus targeting or like internal Facebook targeting, the more your image can also call out the person, the better the targeting is going to be. Because right now with the especially Advantage Plus, it can be a little bit broad and you might get people who, aren't the best fit. So you can use the image to qualify people for sure. Or like if you have a targeted list like you have a little bit more creative flexibility there in terms of like reaching that right person.
Yeah. And there's plenty of companies out there that'll do the scraping for you, right? You can hire individuals off Fiverr or Upwork. They can scrape GBP profiles and put together a great list for you. We created an SOP through best practices, and now we have somebody internally who handles creating those lists for us. But there's companies like Colytics that do a great job of putting together lists. You give them the criteria, they're going to put together a great list of prospects for you.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm testing out right now similar strategy. I'm using Apollo.io
Hmm.
and just pulling like all the agency owner email addresses. There's like over 50,000 in there, and then upload that to a custom audience and see what the match rate is. And then it's like guaranteed you're getting in front of the right people. You could spend way less on ads that way. I mean, depending on like how much velocity you can handle in your business in terms of like number of calls and number of new leads. Like, I mean, I've worked with companies that have spent as much as like 80K a month on ads or, less than that. So it's a big world.
Yeah, you can definitely spend. Luckily, we have a really very specific niche, so I don't think I could spend $80,000 on ads
Yeah,
even if I wanted
no
to.
way.
Nor do I think that's a good use of 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 money for our agency at this point. So.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So, all right. So we said hire the right salespeople. We said, test a ton of different creatives. Is there a third piece of advice that you'd offer somebody?
I hear this myth that cold calling is dead. I disagree with that. I think as more and more people are moving towards like social media advertising and things like that, less and less people are picking up the phone and calling folks.
Mm.
So go out, hire somebody on a part-time basis, let them dial for dollars, let us see if they can generate some opportunities for you on your calendar there. You'd be surprised. I mean, we went prior to this year, I would say 75% of the new business, the new clients that we brought on came as a result of cold calling, right? That's pendulum has swung as we've started to generate more content through our podcast and also started to invest a little bit more in Facebook ads. But there's especially for a new agency or somebody that's below that six-figure mark. If you got the time and you got the bandwidth, man, don't be afraid to pick up the phone and actually make some phone calls to businesses. You'd be surprised how effective something like that can be.
Wow. And in terms of like I guess you could call it KPIs, like in terms of the number of conversations somebody has in a day, let's say they do like 100 dials and talk to like five people. For every conversation, like how many appointments would you hope that they might book?
So right now we're looking to have our appointment setters reach out to 10 prospects an hour, right? And they probably work 3 to 4 hours a day. So we're talking about reaching out. Now you don't always connect with every prospect there. So if we can get an appointment scheduled, and they're doing some qualification as well, because not everybody on our list for cold calling is going to meet our qualifications in terms of revenue, number of jobs that they average, bandwidth they have for taking on new jobs. We've got some pretty specific criteria there. But if that appointment setter that's making calls 3 or 4 hours a day generates one or two qualified appointments a day, that's a win for us. Huge win for us.
Yeah, I mean, that is strong. I mean, that's like, 30 to 60 new appointments per month.
Yep, between two appointment setters. They're also kind of doing dual roles right now, where they're also working some of the warm stuff that we've generated as well. But yeah, we're cold calling is not dead. It's a good investment. You just gotta get the right people, get the right pitch, and manage the data, and you should be able to turn it into some great opportunities. So.
Yeah, well, it's so funny because I've literally talked to you're the third person I've talked to now in the last week who's really highlighted cold calling. So it's funny because I think a lot of people don't like it or they stay away from it or they're like it's not flashy, so they, don't put too much stock in it. It's funny.
If you're trying to grow your business, you're going to explore every road possible, right? And cold calling may not be for everybody. Certainly, as a founder, or even your best salespeople may not want to pick up the phone and cold call, but you can go out there and you can find somebody on a part-time or a full-time basis that's not afraid to make those dials and generate those opportunities.
Awesome. So a couple keys to scaling that we've uncovered so far, hiring the right salesperson, not being afraid to do some calls during the day. And yeah, if you want to use Facebook ads, just experiment with the creative, really see what hits, explore having a targeted list. It'll save you some money and you'll be sure that your ads are kind of getting in front of the right people.
Yeah, 100%. Just do those things and you'll be rich. No, I'm just kidding. You won't be rich, but
Yeah, man. So in terms of like the VSL itself, like you mentioned 90 seconds, that's, in my world, remarkably short. So I'm curious, like, what do you say in that video that kind of like gets someone over the edge to fill out that application?
Well, I traditionally want to speak to the ad in question, right? So the VSL should talk about whatever, like, hey, they're looking to add 4 to 6 water jobs per month. So I let them know that we can help them with that if that's their goal. Then there's a credibility statement. We've been working exclusively with X companies for the last X number of years and currently work with X number of clients in that specific niche there. So all I want to do is resonate the offer that they already responded to, do enough credibility to where they think, oh, these guys actually know my niche and know how to help my business, and then just a strong call to action to complete the form and book a time on their calendar.
Awesome. So yeah, you're kind of targeting people who are like very growth minded. They're ready to grow their business. They're in a position to grow. And it might just take like a simple 90-second video for them to see that like you're an authority, you can help them, and like let's see what this is about.
Yeah, it's not beating a case study out for 5 to 10 minutes, right? It is simple. Like, let me reinforce the creative, the call to action that was on the original ad that I posted. Let me tell you why I'm really good at what I do, and the experience I have working with businesses just like yours. And then let me draw you down the path of the next step, which is obviously to book a strategy session with us.
And have you experimented much with actually like that VSL format, or were you always just like, hey, let's just 60 to 90 seconds, let's go?
I have not, but it's something just like Facebook ad creatives. I'll probably test a little bit. We might do some different VSLs for parts of our email nurture sequence for people that either weren't ready or didn't respond to our attempts to get them on the calendar there. I'm not married to any one thing, so this short form VSL has worked really really well for us. But I'm not opposed to trying something that's a little bit longer and seeing if that has as much traction or maybe generates better quality opportunities for us.
Yeah, the only thing it would probably do is increase the quality, but lower the number of applications. So you'd probably just have like more quality folks coming through, but fewer apps. So it's always that balance of sales and marketing. Like, do you want the sales team to handle more of the qualifying or the marketing? Like, what's more important? And if you
Well,
have a
I've got
sales team, that's great.
Yeah, I got a couple great people that do a good job of reaching out to these folks, getting them qualified before we, move them on to the next stage in the sales process.
Awesome. So, yeah, the other thing you mentioned was the podcast being a huge lever. So, I'm curious, like in my experience, like a podcast is kind of a tough thing to get traction with from the standpoint of a cold audience. Like if you don't have an existing base of fans or an existing base of leads that you can kind of distribute it to, it's a little more difficult to kind of start from ground zero. So,
Yeah, we did not have a Facebook group in our niche or anything like that to use to promote the podcast to specifically. We did have thousands of people in our email nurture sequence. What I found really, really effective is interviewing people that are in my niche, whether they're or restoration company owners or people that have services that work for restoration companies. Right? I worked with a guy that does consulting for new restoration companies that are starting out. He's down in Florida. Talked to another guy that has an estimating outsourcing company, another company that does call centers, answering services for restoration companies. I would interview those folks and then I would tag them and they would promote that episode of the interview and I'd get in front of their audience. And guess who their audience is? Other people that are restoration companies and my target audience there. So you can leverage guests as a way to have your content reach people that that aren't familiar with you, right? So that actually worked really, really well for us. You can see when I interview the right guest, you can see based on the downloads, like that number will be significantly higher because they're actually going out and promoting the episode of the podcast that they were featured on. So.
Yeah, that what you just mentioned is an epic point because you can totally leverage other people's audiences to get more reach, more exposure, and get people into your world. And yeah, that can be a lot easier than putting out a podcast cold or like trying to optimize for keywords and search terms, especially in a hyper specific niche where like people might not be identifying themselves in the search terms or things like that. So you might not know like, if you're targeting the right people with your specific content or not.
And I'm definitely not a podcast pro, right? Like we've done 14, 15 episodes this year, but the content has been good. When I get on the phone with somebody, they're like, "Oh, wow, you're the guy that actually hosts the podcast," and I was like, "Yep, that's me." And there's just a great deal of credibility that we've built up in our niche with the guests that we've had, the conversations that we've had, and again, credibility is great because you get prospects that show up predispositioned to, take advantage of your services there. And at that point, you're just making sure that what your program is a good fit for them, something that they can afford, and then deciding whether or not you want to bring them on as a client.
Wow. Nice. Yeah. Podcast strategy. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that you guys are getting some good traction with that. You also mentioned the nurture process. So I'm curious, like, there's probably a certain percentage of leads that actually like book a call straight out of filling out that questionnaire. But for the ones who don't, which is probably like the vast majority, how do you kind of nurture them and like warm them up to getting them to the stage of being ready to book a call with you?
So they will start getting emails as soon as they enter the funnel, right? Whether they booked a strategy session or not. If they book a strategy session, it moves them to a different email nurture sequence. So they're getting emails from us every couple business days. In addition to those emails, though, we also turn those leads over to our appointment setters, and they're proactively calling. They'll probably make anywhere from 3 to 6 attempts every couple business days to reach out to that prospect, see if they're a good fit, and get them on the schedule there. So we want to hit them from all different angles. We may even explore doing some social media outreach to those prospects via things like Messenger moving forward to see if we can use Messenger as another way to communicate with those prospects and get them onto the calendar.
Awesome. And how do you guys balance kind of like the short term, like, hey, this person's ready to go now, and then the long term, like, okay, maybe this guy's more of a fit in like 6 months to a year or something like that. Do you run into that much?
Yeah, so we will have different deal stages, and as we move them from one deal stage to another deal stage, we've got ones for saved prospects that might be further along. I'm a real believer in consistent follow-up, so they're going to continue to get emails from us on a regular basis, whether it's promoting our recent episode of a podcast or just some content that we're putting out. But we also have every prospect probably has a activity in our CRM for a scheduled call, whether it's 30 days out, 45 days out, 60 days out. So we know based on the conversations that we've had with those prospect when a good time for us to circle back and revisit that conversation. Now, do they remember us 2 or 3 months down the road? Not necessarily, but we've got the right contact information. We know who the right contact is. We jog their brain and hopefully rekindle that interest that they had when they originally, jumped on board to one of our sales funnels.
That's awesome. So you mentioned kind of having some distinct buckets for like people who just opt in versus people who just book a call. So do you have different messaging or types of content that you're sending to those two different buckets?
Yeah, I mean, we will send someone that's kind of in the newer part of the sales process, someone that maybe we haven't reached by phone, but they did respond to one of our Facebook ads, they'll get customer testimonials, well, credibility pieces, podcast episodes, right? Then we've got longer form content that we drip out a little slower, in addition to podcast promotions and things like that for clients that we talk to, aren't ready to pull the trigger, but might do business with us 3, 6, 12 months down the road. So they're a little bit different content depending on where they are in the sales process.
Nice. And how do you kind of like manage the sales team effectively? Because, it sounds like you guys are super organized. Like everything you're saying, I'm like, that's a dream for most business owners to have a sales team that's like, okay, I got my to-dos for each lead and like we're executing on this. And
So for us, and this is kind of the cheat code of having partners, is we all can focus on the thing that we do best and we enjoy the most. I enjoy having sales conversations. So I do the selling for our agency, right? The 100+ new clients that we'll bring on board to our agency, I sold every single one of them. I had a
wow.
conversation with them, right? So I've got appointment setters that help me take some of those opportunities that didn't immediately show up on the calendar or didn't show up for that appointment, that sales demo, that discovery call, get them back onto the calendar again there. But I'm passionate about selling. I'm passionate about our niche. I'm passionate that the services that we provide our clients are going to help them grow their business. So I really enjoy, and my partners give me the bandwidth to do the thing that I love the most that will impact the business, which is bringing out new business. In addition to that, overseeing the marketing and doing the podcast, and we're going to start attending industry events and do that stuff. So maybe I'll have a little less bandwidth to do all the sales myself, and then we'll start scaling that process. But man, I love selling, and I don't have to worry about managing payroll. I don't have to worry about managing our fulfillment team because I've got great business partners that are subject matter experts on their own in their silo of the business, and they do what they do, I do what I do, and we all grow together. So.
Wow, that's awesome. So yeah, you're kind of like honed in on your zone of genius. You love sales. You kind of delegate out the rest, even though you do juggle quite a bit of responsibilities, it sounds.
Yeah, and I'm not afraid to jump into conversations when it comes to fulfillment, client experience, things like that, making decisions on agency acquisitions, strategic partnerships, things like that. But I'd say 60 to 70% of my week is just spent, closing deals, talking to prospects, having discovery call. I'll even do discovery calls there. So, it's my passion. It's what I love. And it's allowed me to have the biggest impact on the business the last few years. I think that will probably change as we continue to scale up. And I'll need to be a little bit more strategic with my time. But right now, we're in a position where I get to do what I really, really love. And that's, sell our digital marketing services to businesses that I think we can help.
Nice. And if there's like an agency owner out there who's at that six-figure level, who's like, okay, I need to start building a team. How do you identify the things that you like are your zone of genius and your sweet spot and that you love doing and kind of like let go of the rest?
So, again, I get the cheat code, right? Because I had two partners already in place that were really, really good at their part of the business there. But I would say creating, as an agency founder, if you can create SOPs and you can create a training curriculum for whatever role you're trying to fill, whether it's a sales rep, whether it's a CX manager, a client success manager, if you can create a path to get them educated on your services, the industry that you're in, and the tools that you use, that makes everything easier. Don't hire and then try to build those things out. Build those things out. You do it. You make those calls, you figure out what needs to be said or isn't said. And then once you have that blueprint, then you go out and you find the right person.
Yeah, that's smart. I remember when I had a team of 12 and when I was, doing my agency and a VP of marketing for a sales coaching company, one of the first people I hired was an assistant. And I knew I needed to make SOPs to free up my time more. And so I actually would just have meetings with them. And instead of like typing out the SOP, I just kind of brain dumped to them. I'm like, when I do this, this is everything that I do. And then they'd write it all out. And I'd be like, I need you to organize that and turn it into something that's actually usable.
And now we have AI, right? You can use ChatGPT. You can do a transcript of a Loom video that you created, take that transcript and dump it into ChatGPT and create a format that you're using for all of your SOPs. And ChatGPT will take care of 70% of that. Now, granted, you have to go in there and make some modifications there. But if you can get ChatGPT and AI or something like that to help you get 70% done with creating those SOPs, then you should definitely be utilizing that technology.
Oh, that's brilliant. Talk about cheat codes, man. That's a
Yeah.
hack.
Yeah. Record a Loom video for anything that you do. Take that Loom video, take the transcript, dump that transcript into whatever you're using for AI, and ask them for an outline to create that SOP. And then once you have one SOP formatted, then you can take that, upload that into whatever AI tool that you're using, and ask them to, hey, take this new Loom video and transcript and create another SOP for that. So.
Epic. So yeah, other thing that you mentioned that's pretty exciting, you guys recently acquired another agency. So maybe you can kind of talk about your process with that and how that all went down.
So our founder Kevin has really been very strategic about how we want to grow this business. And one of the things that he's really passionate about is growth through acquisition. So we are in mastermind groups, and those mastermind groups expose us to a lot of agency owners that may not be at that seven-figure level, or maybe at that seven-figure level, but they're just burned out, right? So, or they're like ready to make a move to do something else, right? So when we have those conversations, for us, the first acquisition that we did this year, it wasn't just about acquiring the agency, the revenue, and the clients. It was more acquiring the team. So the founder and CEO of that agency had created this great wealth of talent. And they were very good at services that we weren't currently offering our clients. So we had been a paid ads agency for almost 6 years at that point. We wanted to add websites, local SEO, GBP optimization, all of those services, but we didn't have the infrastructure or the team in place to be able to fulfill those. Now you can go the white label route. You can build a team internally, but we decided to cheat. We just bought a team that we knew was going to do a great job and that also had experience working in the home service niche. Maybe not as much in restoration, but they did have some restoration clients. So we were really able to hit the ground running in terms of offering now a more complete solution to our current clients and new prospects that we worked with. So that took place, I think we're probably 5 months, 6 months ago. And it's been awesome. The team that we acquired is awesome. All subject matter experts, really, really good at what they do. And the agency is all the better for bringing on these new folks. So.
Wow. That's incredible, man. So you basically acquired this whole other agency for their talent, for the fulfillment power, and to kind of like expand your services and your offerings without
Yep.
having to like train people up or figure it out yourself or like hire for it. You basically just bought a working system and plug and play.
100%. And in addition to that system, we also got their revenue, their customer base. So it allowed us to maintain profitability even through the acquisition.
Wow. That's total hack. So in terms of what's on the horizon, you mentioned that you guys are kind of looking to roll out some webinars. I guess what's inspired that, and what are you hoping to get out of that?
I've seen my peers, other agency owners that are doing webinars consistently. I've watched some of them. They're really talented, really smart people. But I also think I could do that too, right? So we're going to do our first hack at a webinar here later this week. And then we plan on doing webinars at least monthly to see if that can be, it's an opportunity for us to get in front of prospects, but it's also an opportunity for us to get in front of our existing customer base, especially now as we're looking to take clients that we only sold paid ads to, and they've been with us for years. Let me introduce them to the other services that we offer. And maybe they just haven't had to have that or haven't had an opportunity to have that conversation with their client success manager, right? So we're using it as a way to not only bring in new prospects and familiarize them with our agency and the services that we can provide, but also to take our existing customer base, invite them to that webinar, and use that as an opportunity to introduce them to the new services that we're offering. Now, not every subject will be that, but I think is the more we stay in front of our clients and continue to establish ourselves as subject matter experts in their niche, the better we are, the lower churn that we have. They're not looking for another digital marketing agency because they know they're with somebody that understands their business.
Yeah, that's smart. And I mean, you could even separate out those two audiences and have one that's like, prospects only and clients only and kind of tailor the webinar to each audience. Because they're going to need to hear different things. Like the prospects need to hear one thing, the existing customers are already pretty sold on you. So it's like a different conversation.
I agree. I definitely think there will be opportunities for us to do that. But I think initially in just getting started, it's like, man, we just need to get some reps. So let's
Mhm.
invite everybody to the party. Let me DJ for everybody. And then depending on their musical selections, maybe they get invited on Thursday nights to parties versus Saturday nights to parties. So.
Yeah, 100%, man. So with the webinar strategy, you'll be inviting existing clients, prospects. Are you kind of marketing that to cold traffic as well, or are you
Yeah,
more like,
yeah,
okay,
we've done a pretty aggressive email campaign out to all of the clients, new clients, former clients in our database. We've invested in running paid ads, which we're running on Meta right now. In addition to that, we obviously were using our social media pages to promote the webinar. The only thing that we didn't get a chance to do is because the podcast episodes had already been recorded, was using the podcast to promote the webinar there. So that's definitely something that we'll do the next time around.
yeah, for sure. And like that can be a little bit more time sensitive too with the podcast and like the episodes and the rollout and getting the timing right. So totally
Yeah,
get that.
100%.
Cool, man. So I guess kind of winding things down here, with any agency owners who are out there who are like wanting to scale up and like hit that seven or even multi seven figure level like you guys have, what are like, a few golden nuggets that you'd offer them in their journey?
If you haven't already niched down, definitely niche down. It makes everything easier from, marketing your services to fulfilling your services. Hire the right people, get people that are super talented, not only about the agency, but also the customer base that you serve. And then, once you have rock stars on your team, do not let them go.
Hmm.
Even if they have an entrepreneurial spirit, do not let them out that door. Let them execute that entrepreneurial spirit within your organization. Let them become your next leaders. So,
Brilliant. Yeah, so pick the right niche, hire the right people, keep them long term, give them a path to grow where they actually like see a vision forward with the company and can really like utilize and express their talents to the
yeah.
fullest.
And if you've got an agency and you're doing well, but you've kind of hit a glass ceiling and maybe you're a little burned out, just reach out to us. We might be interested in having a conversation about acquiring your agency.
Oh yeah, smart. Yeah, brilliant. Cool, man. So, yeah, I guess if people want to like hear more from you or learn more about you, where can they do that? Where are the best ways for people to get connected?
You can reach out to me on social media. I'll drop my handle in the post here. My website, waterrestorationmarketing.net. My podcast, the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast, and you can also find me on LinkedIn, Clinton James.
Brilliant. Cool, Clinton. Well, it's been great having you on, man. Glad we could have this conversation and look forward to doing it again sometime.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Nathan.